Chapter 3, Election and Representation. So, introduction. Have you ever played chess? Yes, in my hostel. We used to play chess for, I think, months, for 2 3 months. That was a time when we were in 7th, 8th, ninth class, I think. We guys used to have a lot of time, and it has become playing chess as a hobby. And our bio sir used to scold us that don't waste time in playing that stuff. So what would happen if the black knight suddenly started moving straight rather than two and half squares? Okay, or what would happen in a game of cricket? There were no empires. In any sport, we need to follow certain rules. Change the rules and the outcomes of the game would be very different. Similarly, a game needs an impartial umpire whose decision is accepted by all the players. The rules and the umpire have to be agreed upon before we begin to play a game. What is the rule of a giant game is also true of election. What is true of a game is also true of election. There are different rules for system of conducting elections. The outcome of the election depends on the rules we have adopted. We need some machinery to conduct the elections in an impartial manner. Since these two decisions need to be taken before the game of electoral politics can begin, this cannot be felt to any government. That is why these basic decisions about elections are written down in the constitution of democratic country. In this chapter, we shall study the constitutional provisions regarding elections and representation. We shall focus on the importance of method of election chosen in our constitution and the application of the constitutional provisions regarding impartial machinery for conducting elections. We shall also look at some suggestions for amending the constitutional provisions in this respect. After reading this chapter, we will be able to understand different methods of election, characteristics of the system of election adopted in our country, importance of provision for free and fair elections, and the debate on electoral reforms. So first is election and democracy. Let's begin by asking ourselves the two simple questions. What are those? First, can we have democracy without holding elections? Can we hold elections without having democracy? So these are the two questions which are completing to themselves. By answering one, we get a step up to the next question. So let's have a discussion in the classroom on both these questions by using examples from whatever we have learned so far in the previous classes. So there is a cartoon by Shankar, copyright Children's Book Trust. Okay, the first question reminds us of the necessity of representation in the large democracy. All citizens cannot take direct part in making every decisions. Therefore, representatives are elected by the people. This is how elections become important. Whenever we think of India as a democracy, our mind invariably turns to the last elections. Elections have today become the most visible symbol of the democratic process. We would distinguish between direct and indirect democracy. A direct democracy is one where the citizens directly participate in the day-to-day decision making and in the running of the government. The ancient city-states in Greece were considered example of direct democracy. Many would consider local governments, especially Gram Sabha, to be the closest examples of direct democracy. But this kind of direct democracy cannot be practiced when a decision has to be taken by the lakhs and crores of people. That's why rule by the people usually means rule by people's representatives. In such an arrangement, citizens choose their representatives who in turn are actively involved in governing and administering the country. The method followed to choose these representatives is referred to as an election. So that the citizens have a limited role in taking major decisions in the running and the administration. They are not very actively involved in making of the policies. Citizens are involved only indirectly through their elected representatives. In this arrangement where all major decisions are taken by elected representatives, the method by which people elect their representatives become very important. The second question reminds us of the fact that not all elections are democratic. A large number of non-democratic countries also hold elections. In fact, non-democratic rulers are very keen to present themselves as democratic, as China pretend its country to be democratic. The same way, they do so by holding election in such a way that it does not threaten their rule. Can you think of some example of such non-democratic countries? What do you think would distinguish a democratic from a non-democratic election? What can be done to ensure that election in a country would be conducted in a democratic way? This is where constitution come in. The constitution of a democratic country lays down some basic rules about election. The details are usually left to be worked out by laws passed by the legislatures. These basic rules are: first, who is eligible to vote, who is eligible to contest, who is supervise election, how do the voters choose the representatives, how are the votes to be counted and representative elected, what is need of writing these rules in the constitution, why can't these be decided by the parliament or by all the parties before every election? So like most democratic constitutions, the Constitution of India answer all these questions. As you can see, the first three questions are about ensuring that elections are free and fair and this can't be, then they can be called democratic. The last two questions are about ensuring a fair representation. In this chapter we will discuss both these aspects of the constitution provisions about elections. There is an activity we have to collect newspaper clippings about elections in India and any other country, classifying the clippings in the following categories: system of representation, voter eligibility, and the role of election commission. So then in the next section we will have a look at election systems in India. So thank you, signing off.